ABC-7 Extra.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of ABC-7 Extra. Nate Ryan in tonight out of the bullpen. Tonight's topic, athletics amid the coronavirus pandemic. 9 months ago in March, high school and college athletics were shut down, cutting the spring sports season short. Fast forward to now here in December. In El Paso, high school football carries on, but each game is incredibly fragile as teams deal with COVID issues. For perspective, we bring in two of the biggest voices in borderland high school athletics, Socorro Independent School District Athletic Director JJ Calderon and Eastwood head football coach Julio Lopez. JJ, I want to start with you. Was there ever a question now here as we stand in December whether or not this high school football season would be played?
Well, yeah, I think since day one, it's all been new territory for everybody. And I think with all the uncertainty of how we're going to get off the ground and get through a season, you know, it's always been since day one, like I said, a challenge for everybody. It's taken a lot of patience, a lot of organization, and again, a lot of diligence by our coaches and our administrators in our district to get through this season. Now we're in the postseason, but it definitely was a challenge. There was times where we had to take a break and, you know, do a little more research on some stuff. And again, it's been a challenge. And you know, we got through the season, and definitely not time to let your guard down. But you know, we're looking at moving forward now.
From an administrative perspective, do you have any regrets looking back on how you guys pulled off the season?
I don't know about regrets. We really didn't have time to look at that. You know, I know that a lot of people did the very best that they could as far as putting protocols in place and getting our medical professionals involved. When it comes to scheduling, I know that our districts did a real good job putting schedules together. It's been a challenge keeping them updated. We had to modify our structure just a little bit, but I think overall throughout the season that there's been a lot of people that have put a lot of effort into pulling the season off. We only got to complete our varsity seasons, but like I said, it was definitely a task, and there was a lot of people that did a good job as far as getting their schools and teams prepared.
Right. And Coach Lopez, you actually still have the headset on the sidelines at Eastwood. Probably this season having to do more coaching off the field than on. A little bit more hands-on this season?
Yeah, you know, one thing that really resonated with me when the whole season started, and I had told our staff this and I had told our team this, is that when Hard Knocks was going on, that show on HBO, obviously that details NFL teams every year, Anthony Lynn, the head coach for the Chargers, said something that really stood out to me, and it was that every week you have to understand that you're facing not only the opponent, but you're facing COVID every single week. And I think that we've all, you know, here across the city and really across the state have taken that mentality. You have to do everything you can, not only to get your teams obviously prepared to win football games and be safe and be, you know, obviously be ready to go every Friday night, Monday night, Saturday afternoon, whatever it is. But in addition to that, you have to follow the protocols, the guidelines. You have to battle and feel like COVID is an opponent of yours every single day that you take the field. So it's been obviously quite the juggling act for coaches, administrators. My hat's off goes to Coach Calderon, Coach Williams in Isleta, Coach Kennedy in El Paso, all the area athletic directors, because their hands obviously have been, you know, full with a lot of different schedule changes and managing things on a day-to-day basis. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel, you know, here at Eastwood and in our district, we've done a great job with our coaches and our programs in managing that the best we can.
And Coach Lopez, you've managed to play a full schedule this fall, correct?
I guess whatever full would be. I know we made some adjustments in the schedule, but yes, we were able to, we did have a shutdown that first week of district where we weren't able to play Pebble Hills. But since then, you know, we came back, and since then, you know, knock on wood, and thankfully we've been able to continue on and get the rest of our schedule in.
Because cancellations in the COVID era, obviously, these games are incredibly fragile week to week. Coach Calderon, is there a number on how many games SISD has had to cancel this fall?
Well, I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but I can tell you at the beginning of the year, we scheduled 8 games for every team in 6A. And I'm just speaking to the 6A district. I think that comes out to like 36 games, including non-district. I think in 6A we canceled, I want to say 18 cancellations, and we had 4 games that we were able to make up and 6 that were not. So it definitely was a challenge. Putting, when you make a cancellation, there's so many people that are affected on our end. You have game workers, you have maintenance workers, custodians, security, so officials. So it does affect a lot of people, and we do leave our cancellations in Socorro ISD. Our medical professionals are the ones that determine whether we go into quarantine or not. So you add those people as well. So a lot goes into the mix when it comes to canceling games.
And then obviously the teams as well have to then make the sacrifice of possibly a forfeit in those cancellations. For example, I mean, I'm just going to talk about a team like America's High School, a team that advanced the farther than any other team in the city of El Paso last year. They've had, I believe, 3 games already canceled this fall due to COVID complications, and that's resulted in forfeits. I mean, is that something where it eliminates them from the playoffs?
Right, and we've had, there's been a point where we've had multiple teams have to go into quarantine throughout the season. In America's, when they were having to quarantine, it was just the point of the season where we were in the makeup phase of our season. We left the last week open for makeup games, and we were playing, we were going to play 3 games in 15 days. It just so happened that America's had to miss out in those 3 games, and they ran out of time, and we're not able to make those games up as well. So, there's been a lot of inequities throughout the year as far as this goes. I think our season ended with Coach Lopez's team undefeated and Eastlake undefeated, but they had an uneven number of games. So we had to, we looked at that. Of course, it would be great if we could play that game again, or have an opportunity to play that game. But both teams ended up undefeated. So there was a lot of situations like that.
Coach Lopez, and I want to talk with you especially because you're on the sideline with these players. How has this season affected the mentality of these high school student athletes? Have you noticed them being able to stay engaged all season long, or has it taken a toll on them at all from your perspective?
Yeah, I can't speak to any other program. I could just speak to ours, and I'm just so proud of our kids and our coaches. Honestly, I haven't seen a group like this that is so, I would say, the feeling of just gratefulness to play every chance they get to play. And I would say that would be the biggest change you would see across the city with any athlete this year specifically compared to years past. It's that every athlete understands that, like Coach Calderon was saying at the beginning of the show, we didn't know at a time if we would ever get a football season in. We didn't know if we would get a volleyball season in. We didn't know if we would get cross country in. And so every time that our athletes were able to take the field or the court or get out there and run or whatnot, I just think there was a huge feeling of gratefulness to be there, a joy just to be playing the game that they grew up playing their entire life. And I think that would be the biggest change that I've seen, in our group and in most groups, I would say, across the city and the state.
And lastly, Coach Lopez, you guys still have one more game to play next week in Fort Stockton. Is the plan to be able to host fans at that playoff matchup?
Well, we don't plan on one more game, Nate. So hopefully it's more than one more game. But yeah, you know what? We obviously earned the right to be able to host, being the district champ and the 1 seed. But we just felt, and I'm very grateful to our administration that they allowed us the opportunity to be able to travel. And with traveling, obviously, without the restriction of El Paso's, city ordinance. We're going to be able to have fans, and our families will be able to see our kids for the first time all year. I know a lot of our families are excited, and we're giving up, obviously not making Abilene travel the whole way here to El Paso, and we turned it into a road game ourselves. But for our families and our 40-plus seniors, families are excited to be able to see their kids play in a playoff atmosphere and for a bi-district championship. So we're just very grateful to our administration at the school level and central office level for making that happen for us.
And we do have to go to break, but Coach Calderon, now for the SISD teams playing on in the state playoffs, real quick, are you working on a plan to stream those playoff games for the families back here in El Paso?
Yes, we are. We'll work on that tomorrow. Montwood will be playing in Midland, and then we have 2 games at the SAC on Friday. El Dorado will be hosting Amarillo High, and Eastlake will be hosting San Angelo Central. So yes, we are working on working with UIL and getting permission to live stream those playoff games.
Well, Coach Lopez, Coach Calderon, thank you so very much for joining me on ABC-7 Extra. We'll have more coming up after the break as we move to the college level, the COVID implications it's had on both UTEP and New Mexico State.
Imagine feeding over 138,000 hungry El Pasoans 3 meals every day. That's what we do. I'm Susan Goodell with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. During this pandemic, your local food bank distributes over 15 million pounds of food every month. However, finding enough resources to get food to our hungry neighbors is proving to be extremely difficult. Without your help, many will go hungry this holiday season, and we simply can't let that happen. Donate now, elpasoansfightinghunger.org.
One-on-one with Susan Eisen.
Want to be sure she says yes? Let us help you choose the perfect engagement ring.
When it comes to making the right choice, visit SusanEisen.com.
Your mother is a special lady, and on her special day, you promised her a special celebration. But if slow upload speeds won't let your video call through because you have cable, just remember, you're not a bad son. You just need better internet.
AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience with 20 times faster upload speeds than cable. Get AT&T Fiber, plan starting at $35 a month for a year. Limited availability in select areas. Call 1-877, only AT&T.
I'm Oscar Leeser, and I approve this message.
Margo ignores his own guidelines. Goes to dinner, no mask, no social distancing. Margo grants 37 COVID waivers for weddings and parties. Margo accuses council member from Holocaust family of Gestapo tactics. Communication breakdown over shutdown makes national news. 32,000 El Pasoans out of work. Margo says Hispanics have higher hospitalization rates than normal Caucasians.
Now's the perfect time to get the body you want. Dr. Margo A. Gonzalez is now offering the all-new, minimally invasive J-Plasma Skin Tighten treatment and the affordable Awake Liposuction. For more information, call 600-BODY and start getting real results.
Well, obviously a big challenge scheduling an athletic sporting event in 2020 amid the coronavirus pandemic, especially at the college level. And for more perspective, we bring in the athletic directors from our local universities, UTEP Athletic Director Jim Center and New Mexico State Athletic Director Mario Mocha. But before we get started, gentlemen, I first want to say we talk about all the pitfalls of 2020, but we've got UTEP and New Mexico State here coming together on one Zoom. Hope grows in 2020. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first to start off, I want to start off with you, Jim, because you guys are playing a football season here this fall at UTEP. You've had 4 football games so far canceled this season, trying to get another one in next week against North Texas. What's been the biggest challenge for you leading up to kickoff? Because game week starts on Monday, and you've got a kickoff scheduled for Saturday. What have been the challenges leading up to that?
Yeah, Nate, that's a really good question. And what I would tell you is I think probably the biggest challenge is the fluidity of the situation as you make decisions. Everything is changing almost on a daily basis. And, you know, football players and teams and coaches are conditioned to be very, very regimented in what they do and how they practice in their schedules from day to day. It is when you have disruptions in that, it really kind of throws things into a tailspin with your coaches and your student athletes. So I think that's really been one of the bigger challenges is how your team handles that. Obviously, we want to play, and I think we've done a good job of getting to the point where we can play. But as we all know, everything is not within our control. There's a lot of things that are outside of our control.
And Mario, you at New Mexico State made the decision early on to suspend your football season to the spring. Now here as we sit in December watching the rest of the country play out a college football season, are you comfortable with the decision you made? Do you look back with any regret whatsoever?
Well, you know, Nate, I think we'd love to be playing with the majority of the schools. You know, our specific situation being independent, you know, by the time kind of things got cranked up in New Mexico, we had lost 8 games from our schedule. So while we could have, you know, piecemeal the schedule together, you know, the conditions in New Mexico did not allow us to have any home games. So that's a big factor. So let's look at playing around 3 games in the spring. It will fulfill our promise to our student athletes that they will be able to compete. It'll be able to take care of some of the media obligations, television and radio, so we can recoup some of our corporate dollars. It'll give the coaches an opportunity to look at the personnel going into next year, because I really haven't seen them in a competitive situation. So those are some of the factors. So I think for us, and looking at some of the other independents, I think it worked for us. We certainly would love to be playing, and we hope that, the conditions improve and the gating criteria changes, where we'll be able to get those games in February and March.
We're now looking forward to not just football, but throw in basketball now as we get into the heat of basketball season, and really all athletics. For both of you, you guys are playing in a region where COVID cases are spiking by the day. Obviously, we hope for those to at some point plateau. Have you guys found challenges as far as bringing other schools to the region to play sports?
Well, maybe I'll start out here, Mario, first. We had one of our opponents during football that said they didn't feel safe coming to El Paso, which is really unfortunate. But because on our campus and all the great things that we're doing, this is one of the safest places to be. But with that being said, I think the national news cycle has made a lot about what's happening here in the borderland a national story. And while we do have positivity in cases, and we are actually now in a downturn, it's actually coming down, and those are good stories. But you don't hear as much about that as you do when things are going up, and that's unfortunate that you don't hear both sides of the story on the national news cycle. So I say our basketball coaches really are the ones working with our basketball schedule and trying to get people to come and help people understand that you can still come here and it's safe, even though we're in the middle of a global pandemic.
And now, Mario, on your end here, you guys currently not allowed to play games in Las Cruces per the New Mexico State Health Order. So probably for yourself, a lot more, thinking on the fly as far as coming up with a schedule, considering you're having to play road games.
Sure. I'll kind of dovetail on what Jim said. The one thing we talk about, are people comfortable playing, or how come we're not playing? Since August 23rd, we've tested our men's and our women's team over 800 tests, and the women have had 0 positives, the men had 1. That's a positivity rate of 0.12%. So I'm pretty comfortable. I'm not a virologist or an epidemiologist, but I'm pretty comfortable saying that our kids are not the cause of spread. They're the most tested people on the planet. So if one of them did get it, the contact tracing is right there. So anyway, that's a little bit about that.
Right.
From our scheduling standpoint, we've kind of attacked it in different ways. The women have chosen to be road warriors.
You've just talked about, Mario, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but you just talked about you guys were able to get 2 games in on the women's basketball side here in the past week. How much did you guys work together in making those games happen? Obviously, Jim, you bringing those teams to El Paso. Talk about the conversations that went behind scheduling those games.
Well, I think it first starts out with us having a great relationship, Mario and myself, and our 2 head women's basketball coaches, trying to find ways to make this work. And it's one of the more challenging things, I think, because everybody's got their own schedule and their own teams that they're trying to serve. And that makes it a little bit more challenging at times. But I was just so proud of our 2 head coaches in both women's programs working together. New Mexico State's willingness to come back to El Paso for a second time. One of the things that generally coaches are always concerned about is this idea of a home court advantage. Well, when you don't have any fans, there really isn't a home court advantage. It's just a court. Both Mario and I watched the game the other night, and there was about 10 of us in there, I think. There was no home court advantage, just 2 really good teams battling each other, and those kids were competing.
Yeah, 100%. And I echo what Jim says. There is always, and you see this nationally, coaches are always going to be worried about, hey, who has the advantage, this, that, and the other. I think the administrators certainly want to be responsive to the coaches, but at the same time, we want to get the games in. But no, I was very happy that I think Coach Baker, Coach Atkinson have great relationships. Obviously football is not going to work out this year. But hopefully, the men, the coaches, the administration can get together. Would love to, at least salvage 1 game out of our historical series. But at the end of the day, I was just glad to play. It is one of the things that we promised our student athletes when we recruited them, to get a great education, that have good social experience, and be able to play and play for championships. And, while we may not have had all the practices we wanted to, so on and so forth, we can at least look at ourselves in the mirror as administrators and say, hey, we were able to make this happen. And, hopefully we'll have some success down the road.
And seeing the success that you guys had pulling off those games at the Haskins Center, I do have to ask, with both of you here, with the men's side, UTEP and New Mexico State, what are the challenges standing in the way of playing a game between you two, whether it be at the Haskins Center, or is there a possibility of UTEP going to Phoenix or at another neutral site to play a men's game?
Well, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, for us, Nate, right now we're in Phoenix. So, as we are working our schedules, UTEP is working their schedules, travel arrangements, et cetera. So, one of the secrets is primarily the basketball coaches work together with the basketball schedule, where athletic directors kind of work on the football schedule side. That's just, a historic perspective. But, there's a lot of moving parts. But I know that our coaching staffs are talking together. So, we'll wait and see, and hopefully, we'll be able to work something out.
And Jim, on your end, would you be open to hosting the Aggies at the Haskins Center as well, too, on the men's side?
Oh, absolutely. And I think part of the bigger challenge is just what Mario said, and that is the conflicting dates of they're trying to get their dates when they can get them. We're trying to get ours in. The other thing is it made the most sense to play two games, basically a home and home in the same year, when both of us have a 30 to 45-minute bus ride, right? All of a sudden, we're separated by a 7-hour bus ride. That becomes a lot more problematic and challenging with travel, as well as trying to get a date and make that work, right? So it may not work this year, and it still might. We just don't know. It's very, very fluid. And to use a basketball term, we both may have to pivot and go in a different direction or pass, but we're still trying to see if we can make that work.
But conversations are fluid. You both want to play that game, gentlemen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, from our it's obviously a historic. I don't have the records in front of me. I know we've been playing it for about 100 years. So we know this is a very unique time in the history of the country. But yeah, I would love to try to work through those historic issues and still get the game in.
Well, both of you gentlemen have done a tremendous job as far as navigating the schedules throughout the coronavirus pandemic. Jim Center, Mario Mocha, thank you very much for joining us on ABC-7 Extra. We have much more coming up right after the break.
James Watt Medical Center is now open and accepting new patients. As an expert in internal medicine and primary care, Dr. Farouk Ahmed brings his experience to the east side of El Paso. We take most insurance, and walk-ins are always welcome. Join our new beginning at James Watt Medical Center, 11331 James Watt, Building 100.
Whether this is the new you, perhaps an improved you, or maybe it's the same you, we're here with convenience, reliability, and accessibility. Anywhere and at any time, so you can keep being you. We're with you. Learn more about our remote services at gecu.com.
Getting used to the new normal is not easy, but ordering your favorite burritos is. Download the Rita's Burritos app and order your favorite made-from-scratch burritos and pick them up in our convenient drive-thru window. Rita's Burritos, making things a little easier for you. 4907 Crossroads on the west side.
So, Spill, what's the news? It finally happened. It's beautiful.
Wait, is it a Viraggio?
Yes, unlike any other ring.
The ultimate symbol of love. Viraggio, unlike any other ring.
Jewel Gallery.
7134 North Mesa, 845-7740. After all, it's all about the ring.
The unknown is not empty. It's a storm that crashes and consumes, replacing thought with worry. But one thing can calm uncertainty. An answer, uncovered through exploration, teamwork, and innovation. An answer that leads to even more answers. Mayo Clinic, you know where to go.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. As we close our show on athletics amid the pandemic, we ironically close a week in which borderland sports and games have been sacrificed. Maybe the most painful casualty, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. For the first time in 85 years, the crown jewel game of El Paso will not be played as the game's board of directors voted Monday to cancel the nation's second oldest bowl game out of concern of bringing in teams from outside the community. Game officials said the decision was difficult, but at the same time, easy. And it was announced Friday that UTEP football will no longer host North Texas next weekend. Rather, the Miners will have to travel to Denton, Texas to play the Mean Green. This, no doubt, a result of the current COVID numbers in El Paso. Now, North Texas already declined to travel to El Paso once back in October, instead pushing the game back to next weekend. Now it appears that rather than not play at all, UTEP will have to travel on the road to kick off. And yesterday, New Mexico State basketball, the latest team to be put on pause after a player tested positive for COVID-19. The Aggies were in California ready to play Santa Clara and Cal Poly on a 2-game swing. Those games now will not happen. The status of next Saturday's road game at Arizona now in question. After that, NMSU's schedule is empty until conference play in the new year. That team now quarantining at their hotel in Phoenix. The cut and dry numbers of COVID cases in El Paso County announced today that just over 37,000 cases active. Through this all, coaches and administrators seeking to balance safety and competition. Special thank yous to our guests tonight, Jim Center and Mario Mocha from the collegiate level, as well as Coach JJ Calderon and Coach Julio Lopez. Best of luck to Coach Lopez and Eastwood in the state playoffs next weekend. And thank you for spending your Sunday with us and ABC-7 Extra. I'm Nate Ryan. Stay safe, stay healthy.